Welcome back to the Spector Creative channel. I'm your host, Toy Guru Neitlich. And on this channel, we take a look at a lot of behind-the-scenes workings on the toy industry and the toy shopping experience. And something that comes up a lot, especially recently, this is spring 2021 when this video is being recorded, is as toy fans, we just want to pay for our product and go home. It's one of those shut up and take my money, give me my product, and I'll be happy. And if you have a willing audience waiting to buy product, it's very frustrating when you go to your local retailer and you see empty pegs. You're willing to buy something, but it's not there. So how can you be asked to support a brand, or how can a toy company, a manufacturer, know a brand is popular if there's no product to buy? It's kind of this vicious circle that goes around and around, and we can't seem to escape from it. So let's talk a little bit about this and why this has happened. So it's not just the one peg rule. I've talked about this in other videos about how every peg at retail is designed to sell one unit per week. Now this is at big box stores. It's not at family-owned toy stores, and it's not even for items that are shelved, like on the bottom shelf. This is for items that are in assortments that are on pegs at big box stores. So if you have an assortment of, action figures and there's 8 figures in a pack, then they go on the peg, and that's meant to be 8 weeks of product because there's 8 units in the master carton. And of course, all it takes is one collector or, one scalper, if you will, to come along and buy all 8 figures, and suddenly there's nothing on the peg. Now, this is only half of the explanation. It's the explanation for why there might not be anything on the peg, because the retailer has now done 8 weeks of sales in 1 hour or one store visit. And this is something that you don't see in other categories in the store. You don't see this in screwdrivers or scented candles. Nobody comes in and buys an entire case pack and gives the store 8 weeks of sales in one visit. And that's something that's very unique to the adult collector market, where whether it's a collector buying every figure to get the Build-A-Figure or the full wave because they collect them all, or a scalper coming and buying them all to resell on eBay, well, the question is, why can't retailers just restock? Why can't they just go in the back room, grab some more product, or keep enough product in the back that they can constantly keep this floating? I mean, surely they must have room in the back room, in the storage area.
And don't call me Shirley.
Well, the thing is, they really don't. And it's not because this back room looks like this and it's chaotic. I mean, it can, but it's not, a usual occurrence. It's that everything in the back room is organized just like it is in the front area for the customer. Just like everything has a peg, everything has a place where it belongs, this is why in the front area you have what's called a planogram, which is a scientifically created map of how a toy line is merched in order to manage sales, measure sales, and make it easy for the purchaser to find what they're looking for. And just like there's a place for everything and everything has a place in a planogram, it's the exact same thing, in the back room, in the storage room. That everything goes in a specific place, a specific shelf, and gets labeled so you know where it is. So if you have to replenish screwdrivers, scented candles, or action figures, the stocking person knows exactly where to go to get that item and to put it on a cart to bring it out for the customer. The problem with adult collector figures is it's a guessing game. How is a retailer, a manufacturer, or anyone in the distribution process supposed to know which product a scalper or a collector is going to come and clear out 8 weeks of sales, 8 units in one shopping experience? Like I said, this doesn't happen in screwdrivers or scented candles. How do you know which product is going to be scooped up, every unit on the peg, right when it's put out, versus how do you know which items are just going to sit around for weeks gathering dust and not sell through? There's so many brands, especially sold in the action figure aisle, that to have a rule to try to figure out, okay, this peg isn't going to sell out, but we know this one, because it's got Marvel Legends, this will sell out. So let's make a rule that anytime Marvel Legends or Star Wars Vintage Series is put out that we always have 4 extra boxes in the back so we can quickly replenish. Well, okay, but what happens when there's a Marvel Legend wave that doesn't sell through and creates a peg warmer? Sometimes this happens with an individual figure, where one figure in a wave just doesn't sell through, and sometimes you get multiple pegs of the same figure because sell-through just doesn't happen. So if you were keeping extra units in the back, well, that defeats the point if there's a peg warmer clogging up the pegs. Sometimes it's an entire wave. There have been absolutely Marvel Legends, Black Series, Vintage Series waves that have not performed as well as others. In fact, right now, I've seen the new Marvel movie is, I mean, I know it's because the movie's been pushed out and the product's already hit, but, it's just sitting there. You see, unit after unit of the same figure for Shang-Chi. So how is someone supposed to predict which Marvel Legends waves will be hits, which one won't be? Which Vintage Series waves will be hits and which won't be? I mean, sure, yeah, you could say, well, get a toy consultant, get a collector on staff. They could tell you. Well, think about it. To employ a collector just to give this information on a few pegs for incremental sales, there are so many brands sold in this aisle. And knowing, that Minions toy isn't going to sell, but that Toy Story 4 toy will, there's no way to make a rule that goes that specific. You can't predict the future. And asking a retailer, a manufacturer, someone in the distribution chain, the demand planning, as it's called, is the name of the people who decide allocation of product. Well, big box stores need to have rules that go for the entire store, every single aisle, every department. Again, whether it's sweaters or carrot sticks or tools, hammers, bicycles, you name it. Whatever is sold, and big box stores are called big box stores because they have so many different departments so that you can find everything. Well, let alone the idea that they're going to have a rule just for one department, let alone one peg within a department. So, you've got the toy department, the action figure aisle, the Marvel Legends peg. Having a rule that only applies to that peg versus the 1 per week rule that applies to the entire store is way more manageable from a store standpoint. And when they're bringing out product, of course they bring it out as soon as it comes in. But if you have a master carton of 8 new figures, if we think of them as collector figures like Black Series or, again, Marvel Legends, if there's 8 figures in that case pack, that's 8 weeks of sales. So the reason this is happening is really because of the loss of the toy store. We used to have stores that were dedicated just to toys, not big box stores. I mean, Toys R Us was a big box, but it was a big box of just toy. And we also had, toy-specific stores, everything from KB to even mom-and-pop stores, and a lot of them are going out of business for various reasons. And because of the lack of a dedicated toy store, all of the sales for toy product have now been pushed to big box stores and online retailers. So the whole 1 unit per week didn't apply to a toy store. It only applies to big box stores like Meijer and Walmart, Target, Fred Meyer, that kind of thing. So the lack of toy stores in the retail environment, and now big box stores having to be all the same and have every aisle perform under one rule, because asking them to have a rule that, where every product is different, yet every product is the same. You can understand if you're, the president of a big box store company, how in the world do you develop rules for individual pegs in individual aisles in individual departments? Yes, as collectors, we just want to walk in, hand you our money, and get the figure. And if we walk in and there's nothing on the peg, of course it's frustrating because not only are we not getting our product, but there's no way to then communicate to the toy maker, whether it's Hasbro, Mattel, Jada, Jax, Spin Master. If there's nothing to buy, how do we tell them that there's interest in product? Well, they are seeing the interest. They're seeing, that 8 units per week are selling through. And even if they sell through in one visit, it's still recorded as 8 weeks of sales. When we had toy stores, they didn't have to have this rule, and they could just put out as much stuff as they wanted. So that's the problem. Manufacturers and retailers are still recording their sales, whether they get 1 sale per week or 8 in one visit, 8 weeks of sales. And it is very much a vicious circle. And Okay, if anyone gets that vicious circle joke, you get bonus points. So having a big box store with all these different departments, asking them again to, drill down to the peg level, saying that one peg should have a special rule for replenishment is honestly asking too much, because it's just too difficult to predict how that peg is going to perform. What if it gets a wave that doesn't perform? Like I showed some of those peg warmers with Marvel Legends a few moments ago. So this unpredictability of how entertainment, toys are going to be linked, combined with the fact that the stockroom is already full. They don't have room in the stockroom to just have all these extra case packs dedicated to one peg. All right, I hope this helped clarify. I know we live in frustrating times as collectors, but trying to at least share some information. And share this video, because it helps tell YouTube to share it with more people. That's how their algorithm thing works. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.